This is Steffen Schmidt for InsiderIowa.com. I promised you an update on the 2012 Republican Party race to the White House. We're in the middle of a very interesting season, candidates jockeying for delegates, for media buzz. There are still 4 candidates in the race, and we had some interesting contests recently. You'll remember that Rick Santorum did very well in 3 of those. That was followed by a victory supposedly by Mitt Romney in the state of Maine in the caucuses there. And we are now kind of in a dry spot. There are only a couple of contests coming up, no debates until the end of February. And so I wanted to give you an update on what the polls are doing, because since we can't really look at the results of caucuses and primaries for a while, the polls have become the focus of attention. Behind me here are the 4 candidates who are still left in the field. There are actually a few down here whose names I haven't put up because they have been ignored by the news media, and therefore they don't matter. And what we're seeing is an amazing surge by Rick Santorum, who has an up arrow. Up means gaining in the polls. And Santorum has actually now bypassed Mitt Romney in several of the national polls. And that is a surprise because Rick Santorum kind of came from behind. He did win the Iowa caucuses, then he had a long dry spell, and so all of a sudden now he seems to have gotten some traction and attention. Mitt Romney, on the other hand, as you can see, has a down arrow. That means that his poll numbers have been declining. It means that he essentially is not really losing a lot of the support in public opinion polls, but stagnant and losing relative to the rise of Rick Santorum. Mitt Romney has never achieved 50% in any primary or caucus. He has never been really much above the high 20% in polls, and it is therefore, I think, alarming for Mitt Romney that he is essentially struggling and that he is slipping to some extent. I put Ron Paul in here with a straight line arrow. That means unchanged. It means Ron Paul continues to have his enthusiastic supporters coming out for him. I think Ron Paul would have won the caucus in Maine if the state of Maine were only to get its act together and quit having one of the most ridiculous ways of selecting delegates for the national convention of any state in the country. Ron Paul had a lot of strength there, but some of the caucuses where he was running strong decided not even to meet, not even to have a caucus, apparently because the weather was a little bit bad. Well, in Maine, the weather is always bad this time of year, and I think Ron Paul would have won if it hadn't been for this crazy system in which people can vote over an entire week. Different caucuses are on different days of the week. The results are reported in the most sloppy way I've ever seen, writing names on little pieces of paper. It's a contest that is not deserving of any national attention. I'm giving it more here than it deserves. But Paul is basically holding on to his 12–15% supporters. They're passionate, they give him money, they love him. It's the Ron Paul revolution, and that's not going to change much over time. Here's the big news, Newt Gingrich. Newt Gingrich has had ups, he's had downs, and you notice I give him a double arrow down. That's much worse than Mitt Romney's arrow down. Newt Gingrich is losing a lot of traction, his numbers are poor. He has even more of the Republican intellectual establishment and others basically now saying to him, you need to get out of the race. You are making it impossible for any Republican to get the nomination. You are just sucking away delegates. And Newt Gingrich has been in dire straits. He is not doing well in fundraising. In fact, he's spending this entire week and probably 2 weeks just going around begging for money. He says that he will come back during the Super Tuesday, in which there are some southern primaries, but we'll have to wait another month for that. So this is where the scorecard is right now. Santorum up, Romney down, I'm giving you kind of football signals here. Ron Paul, flat, and Newt Gingrich, double dip, falling out of the headlines, and to me at least, worrisome if I were his campaign organization, because he needs to score some points. There is a debate in Arizona coming up on the 22nd of February. I think Newt Gingrich is really hoping that he will have a fabulous night and it will set on fire his campaign again. So, very interesting year for American presidential politics. Just memorize the scorecard. We'll have a quiz on InsiderIowa.com on what I just taught you in this advanced seminar on campaign politics. This is Dr. Politics, Steffen Schmidt for InsiderIowa.com.